Okay. Let me double check that everything is working correctly, and let's start. Okay. Okay. Please say something, both of you.
Hi, my name is Eric.
Okay. Please say something, both of you.
Gone. Hi, my name is Eric.
Okay. Please say something, both of you.
Gone. Josh's voice. Hi, my name is Eric.
Oh, okay.
This is what I wanted anyway, to
Sure.
be alone. Without my handler.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it seems everything is working fine. Hopefully, when Josh ends, it will work fine as well. Okay.
Excuse me.
No worries, no worries. Just checking. Set everything. I also share the Midnight Murder Club Steam page link in the chat so people can check it out. Okay. Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, he got offline, so probably something. He might restarted his computer or something like that.
Weird. Oh, he just sent me a message. I don't know what happened. I could hear you, and I think that meant you stopped hearing me. Discord is restarting and installing all of its updates.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't make any sense, though. But
Yeah,
that's computers.
Yeah. And Discord is acting weird since they changed their CEO, or they were planning to change their CEO, especially nowadays. Hopefully, Discord won't end up in the situation as Skype had.
I hear that word Skype sometimes, and I'm like, I know that word. Oh, right. That used to be like the king.
Exactly. I used to use so much of Skype, like it was really a thing. Yeah.
Come on, Josh. Of course.
He's still offline, so probably Discord did not load for
I
him.
know. I don't know what's going on. What was your first? How'd you play games for the first time?
How do I play?
Yeah. I had a Commodore 64 growing up. That was the first
so very
time
first game. Okay. It's a tricky question because I remember like seeing Crash Bandicoot. You can also see here. Yeah, but the first game, as I remember playing, was probably Robinson Crusoe point and click game on a.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved point and click games. So yeah.
Okay, is my mic working now?
Yeah, it works. It
Yes.
works. I will.
I had to restart my whole computer. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. I will tune your voice a bit. Please say something.
Hello.
Okay. It's working perfectly now. Okay. Let me know, guys, if you're ready. Let me know. Let me know. I will switch
I
back
am
to.
now ready.
Okay.
And I told our social media manager, so they should be tweeting about this.
Nice. So welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today I'm joined with Eric and Josh from Balance Studios, the team behind games like Knockout City, Midnight Murder Club, and also be on the lookout for their future games as well. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please, each one of you introduce yourself in a bit.
Who wants to go first?
It's up to you.
You go first.
I'll go first. Okay. Hi, my name is Eric. I was the narrative director for Knockout City, and I am the game director of Midnight Murder Club. I've been in the industry since 2005, maybe. I started on GBA games, moved to DS, and then slowly worked my way up through VR. And now I'm still making games after all these years.
Thank you for that. What about you, Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh. I am the marketing director over here at Velen. Been here for almost 5 years now. I have not been in the industry quite as long as Eric, probably about 15 years now, but I've worked on multiple sides of it. I started on the journalism side. I have worked on the games retail side for a huge company that shall not be named. And then I've worked for a few devs as well. And because our team is really small, our publishing team is small, I've gotten the chance to work on every game that Velen has put out so far, which is pretty fun.
I see. Thank you for that. So my very first question would be, and again, of course, question goes to each one of you. What was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past? We can hold the same order, by the way, so we can start with Eric if you're up to that.
For some reason, my father loved computers, but he never used them.
Okay.
He would come home and be like, they were throwing this out at work, and he'd have like a new computer, and he'd hook it up, and like I said, the first system I ever played on was the Commodore 64, because my dad got it. I think they bought that one, but all the games that we had, I did not know as a child that games were bought at the store. I thought your dad's friend came over and just gave you a bunch of discs that I now know were pirated. Like, I just thought everybody had 300 Commodore games. I had no idea. So the first games I really remember playing were like old Commodore games. Impossible Mission being one that stands out really bright in my memory because it had human speech in it that I still quote in my head over and over again. But then we eventually moved on to, my brother and I would play games together, and we eventually moved on to things like Zack McCracken and Monkey Island and a lot of point and clicks.
I see. Thank you for that. Thank you. What about you, Josh?
So I don't know exactly how old I was. We moved when I was 5. So I have a memory in my old house, so pre 5 years old, of having an NES with like Super Mario 1 and a couple of games that everybody played, Mega Man 3 and Super Mario 3, but also some that I've never heard of anybody else playing, like The Adventures of Dino Riki, which is
I got that.
You did? Yeah, it was like it was a shmup. I didn't know the name. I didn't know the term for it back then, but yeah, like baby's first shmup, I guess. I did also play some PC though. Like very weird you say Zach McCracken because that was in my dad bought me. He bought for me at the store, so I knew they came from the store.
Oh, wow.
But it was like a LucasArts adventure game pack that came with Maniac Mansion, Zach McCracken, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Loom, and
that's a good pack.
Yeah, and like
wow,
I played so much of those. Yeah.
I was just really quick. I was walking through my elementary school, and this girl walked by wearing a Zach McCracken T-shirt, and I was like, "Do you know who Zach McCracken is?" And she goes, "This is my brother's shirt." And I was like, "Can I talk to your brother?"
You weren't picking up girls at that time, right?
No, I was just interested in the shirt. I just wanted the shirt.
Love that story. Love that. Thank you for that. So from that point of both of your life, what was that light bulb moment in your head when you realized that you would like to work on video games and in the video game industry? So not just had the love for the games as a player, but also would like to work on games. What was that moment and how it turned out for you guys?
I have this thought in my head that I've been like rattling around, and I think that my interest in making video games was really helped by the technology at the time seeming so simple. Like, when I first started playing video games, pixels were this big on screen, so you could see what the art was made of, and you could imagine yourself making it, because you only had so many pixels. And the animation was like, a guy's legs are like this, and then they're like this. It's like, I could do that. I could do 2 frames of animation. So, again, on my Commodore, I remember I was at probably Babbage's or some other store like that, and I saw a game for the Commodore called Adventure Creator. And I thought it was like adventure games, like Monkey Island. But it turns out it was like an RPG style game, but it had a pixel art editor inside of it, and you could make the maps and everything like that. And it was way too complicated for me, but it was like, that was the first time I saw that thing, and I was like, yeah, I want to make games. And then it was just me trying to find out how that could possibly happen for me. There's no such thing as scanners. There's no such thing as the internet. There was none of this. So what I really ended up doing was just drawing a lot in my sketchbook. I made many sequels to video games inside my sketchbook, or I would draw extra levels to games I already liked in my sketchbook. So that's how I really started doing it until around 1999, 1998, when I discovered something called the Adventure Game Studio engine, when I started making my own video games. And that's really it. Like, I went from that to making a portfolio to working at Vicarious Visions, working at Agora Studios, and then at Vicarious Visions, and learning 3D while there. And then, so I was able to grow with technology, because the first time I had to make a 3D model, it was like 8 polygons. Everyone can do 8 polygons. And I really think about now, when someone looks at a game, they're like, I couldn't even begin to imagine how to make this. Like, it must be so daunting to want to get into the industry nowadays, because it's so much to learn, as opposed to back then when it was like, yeah, I can put a pixel on a screen. That doesn't sound so hard.
Thank you for that. What about you, Josh?
So for me, it was like, I was interested in making games a little bit. I actually totally forgot about this until you talked about your story, Eric. But because I thought that all I ever did was like, I started on like building community as kind of my entry into games, but that's not true. There was something called RPG Maker, I think. I don't actually remember if that's what it was,
yes,
but it was like 1998 or something, and it was for making pixel things, and you made the whole game. And I remember the name of the game I was working on. It was called Legend of the Khalai, Khalai.
Careful, now I can Google that.
It doesn't exist. I never published it because my aspirations were
no.
way too big. It was like I was playing Final Fantasy VII, and I was like, I'm gonna make a game like this. And there was a character that was definitely Eris in my game. Like I was ripping off stuff. You made music through like MIDI creation stuff, and so one of my songs was absolutely the melody from Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Note for note, just completely stolen. Never released it. I don't think I even got 25% done. I didn't know how to make something small. I only knew how to like have these huge goals.
Starting a Kickstarter?
Later in high school.
Trying to get it finished?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in 1990, whatever. Later in high school, I got a demo disc for PlayStation that had a demo for Frequency on it, which was Harmonix's first rhythm game, I think. And it, you can see the bones of what eventually became Guitar Hero and Rock Band in it. And that demo disc only had 2 or 3 songs, and I just played them for hours. And like I invited my friends over. I'm like, this game changes everything, and we just played a bunch of this demo disc. And then I bought the game, played a ton of the game, and then they said, hey, we're working on a sequel called Amplitude, and we need people to play test it. And I lived like 45 minutes outside of Boston. They were in Boston. I was like, Mom, can you drive me to Boston so I can play test this game? And she's like, no, that's just such a waste of time. And there were things that happened in between this and the next step in my video games career, but like the moment I really felt like I made it was when I got hired at Harmonix so many years later. And it was just this like, look at me now, Mom, you said this was a waste of time, and now I'm making money for it.
Did she accept it, by the way, finally, that you are making money with?
Yeah, no, she finally, I think, to her own chagrin, respects my career.
I see.
Now, at least a little bit.
I see.
Well, everybody clap.
True. Very true. It's interesting, by the way, that both of you brought up your parents, because my next question is a more personal question. So the question goes, were your family members, close friends, and parents supportive about this decision when you first ended up like going on this journey of having a career in the video game industry? How do you feel about it? And also another additional question is that, do you feel it's important for you in your life to have a supportive, mentally supportive background in your life when you chase your dreams?
So I went to college for comics, and because I wanted to be a comic artist.
I see.
I saw that as an easier path than joining video games, because I had no idea how to get to the industry, but I knew how to draw. I didn't know how to program, all that stuff, but I knew how to draw. So I went to school for comics, but all I did in college was play Counter-Strike and make my own video games. So I don't know, I was all over the place. But my parents were very supportive of me going to art school. And they, like I said, my dad was just, for some reason, just always had new computers in the house. And like I said, the only time he ever touched them was when there was something wrong with it. It was always like the day before a big paper was due and the printer didn't work. And he would like, it's 11:30 at night and he's swearing at a computer trying to get a printer to work. Or we would get a new game that couldn't quite run on our computer. So he'd have to find a way to like turn off things. So we'd have this huge sheet of paper with all this, like all the ways, this is how you play Under a Killing Moon, is you have to do all of these things. But I never felt like I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But I will say where I found the most community was on the internet. When I joined the Adventure Game Studio forums, that is where there was just like so many people all trying to do the same thing. And eventually we would all meet up once a year. Like there'd be like 30 of us would all go someplace and we would just hang out. And it felt like, wow, all these people care about the same things I care about. And they're all struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with, which is like we're all using the same engine and we're all struggling with it. And there aren't that many engines out there like there are now. So it really felt like you know, CJ, the guy who created the engine. It's like I got to know him, and it was just like, hey CJ, how do I do this thing? And he's like, oh, just do this. And it's like I just talked to the guy who made the engine I use, and
it's such a nice feeling.
Yeah, it was really fun, and like, eventually when I left college, I just kept making games, and it turns out there was a studio like 20-minute walk from my house making a Half-Life 2 mod called Plan of Attack.
Okay.
And my friend in Wales found out about it. He was like, hey, everybody, look at this game. And then I clicked on it, and it went to the college's, domain with the Plan of Attack. I was like, wait a minute, that college is right near my house. So I went there. So it was like, yeah, like this community that I was able to have, not only did it help teach me and teach me to be a better game creator, but also a better person because I was interacting with people a lot more. But then they helped me get a job by just being friends with people who are interested in the same thing you're interested in. They're gonna see a lot more than I am as a lonely person. So yeah, it was very important.
Thank you for that. What about you, Josh?
So I went to school for film, graduated, didn't want to move to New York or LA, like didn't do anything with that degree. And so I started working retail, and I worked retail for a number of years, and then I ended up going back to school, and I got a degree in marketing. And my first, so I was getting free tickets to PAX and stuff when I worked at Destructoid, but like they weren't paying me. That wasn't my job. I was volunteering. But my first like job in the industry is I worked for the video games. I worked on the video games team at Amazon. And so that was like, it was one of those things where I bet my dad probably would have been supportive. My dad loves me, but he's very blasé and doesn't really, care that much one way or the other. If I'm happy, he's happy. But my mom, I think she might have been more apprehensive if I was like, I'm joining this indie studio with no job security and whatever. But son was a respected name. Still is. Sure. And so it was like, he's joining the video games industry, but also he's working for Amazon. So I think they kind of balanced each other out. So, and then from there, I transitioned into, jobs at other studios. And I think that the Band-Aid had already been ripped off at that point. So it was just like, no, this is my career. This is what I'm doing now. And so I think it never really was it was never a point of contention. I think it might have been a very different story if I was like, I'm going to go to school to make video games. Seeing how she reacted when I said, hey, can you drive me 45 minutes to help play test this game?
Very true.
But yeah, never really...
Would you like to try, though, by the way, to go back to that passion of yours where you actually make the games?
So... I think that's one of the reasons that I really like Felon, is that it's marketing and publishing under one roof. I'm not the one I'm not coding the game, I'm not making art for the game, but I do feel like I am a very real part of making these games, and not just in the sense of I play tests and I get feedback.
I see.
I slack Eric sometimes.
So you add yourself into the game, you could say.
Yeah, we have, there are some wild cards in Midnight Murder Club that there are at least one or two that I came up with, I think. And
sure. Yeah.
Nice.
So I don't feel like I'm on the sidelines. I feel like I'm a part of making the game.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I think there's an element of the game lore that extends into marketing that in some games, especially games that are not narrative focused, marketing is one of the only ways that you can tell that story sometimes.
True, I agree.
So, especially on Knockout City, Eric and I worked very closely together on how do we get more of the story of the city out there when it wasn't really told through the game directly.
True. Let's switch back to the topic of video games itself or themselves. Throughout the journey of your life when you worked on video games, what was your favorite, or what were your favorite moments of the work itself or the route itself?
There is something to when I was working on games alone when I was much younger. There's a thing that always happens. I have a little guy, and I've just animated him to walk. And then I spend who knows how long just making him walk back and forth. Just to see it. Like, I did that. And then I need a door, and that door needs to open. So the first door you code, you open and close that door so many times. Just to, like, enjoy the fact that you did that thing. And that hasn't really faded. There's a lot of doors in Midnight Murder Club. And I didn't code the door, but when it got working and I put the art in for it, it was like, walk up to the door, open the door, walk through the door, close the door, turn the light on, turn the light off, turn the light on. Like, it was just like, look, here's the door, and it opens and closes, and I'm touching a digital world.
The small things, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. And then really, I just had, before I joined Valen, I worked on a game called Headmaster. It was a VR game. And that's really when I really started with narrative. And I went from Headmaster to Velen to work on Knockout City. And that was just really, 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 really fun. To come up with a story, find a way to tell it economically, and one that fits in with the game, and make it support the game, but also evolve the game, like create the game, so that I'm not just telling the story of the game, but I'm also like saying, ooh, what if we had this character? Yeah, we could use that over here, and now that just opens, like, that's new gameplay that didn't exist. It only appears because I thought it would be fun if this character walked through a door and saw someone.
Doors again.
You know, yeah, it's like, yeah, oh no, doors. You're right. I'm even writing doors. But yeah, those were the when you get something working, be it code, art, or the story, and when you do it in a way you think is clever, either because it's novel, it's new, you didn't think about that's a way you could do it, or you're using something that, like, I still use techniques I learned in 2005. I still use a lot of what are called vertex colors and secondary UV maps, all these like little tricks that I learned way back in the day, and I still use them. And when I use them, I'm still like, I kind of give myself like 2005 version of Eric a pat on the back, like, thanks for learning that, man. Thank you so much for spending all that time up until 6 a.m. using 3D Studio Max to learn how to make 3D.
Fades out for you, yeah.
And not hanging out with your friends. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. I appreciate your honesty, by the way, about this topic. Thank you for that.
No worries.
What about you?
I think mine is like a very different approach, because I do come at games. I come into a game at a very different point in the life cycle, usually. And I think the first moment that I really felt this thing about games being special, it wasn't anything that I made, but it was like, it felt like I was looking behind the curtain in a really special way.
I see.
And it was when I was at Harmonix, and they were working on what would eventually become DropMix. And DropMix, if you're not familiar, it was a game that had physical cards that had little NFC chips in them, and you put them down on a board that read them, and basically you made mashups. So you could take, the vocals from Carly Rae Jepsen, and the guitar from Disturbed, and the drums from, the Final Countdown, or whatever it was. And it would put them in the right key, at the right tempo, and it would just make it work. Music's always been really important to me. And so like the tech was special and the tech worked really well. And they had a digital only version before that. But the way that they were showing this off as a prototype, just internally, just like as they and we were working on it, was they printed out QR codes on pieces of paper, not even cardstock, pieces of paper.
Yeah, there was a similar game to that,
had,
by the way, like Eye of the Judgment, if you remember that game on PlayStation 3. It was a Sony exclusive game.
Yeah. So they had QR codes, and then they had this webcam mounted on this, like, you know, like untwisted coat hangers or something. I don't remember what it was, but it looked like if you breathed on it, it would fall over. And it was just aimed down at the table, and they like it was handwritten for the spots that you had to play the cards and everything. It felt so janky, and yet it just like the tech worked, and I was like, this is how games are made. And it was just this like moment of like, this is the company that made however many millions of dollars on Rock Band and Guitar Hero and everything. Like, this is how they make a game. And it was just a very special moment of like seeing how the sausage gets made, so to speak, and then, you know, kind of like falling in love with the fact that something that feels so janky in that moment can end up feeling so polished at the other end.
True.
It's funny, Josh. In another world, we still worked together on Drop Mix. Somebody I know who was working on it messaged me and said, "We're going to be posting a job request. You should apply to it because I think you're going to like it." I wasn't ready to move on.
The game director, right? I think we know.
I don't think. Yes, it was the game director who said
Jonathan.
That. Yeah, it was John. Yeah. Because they needed a lot of art for the for that game, and he was like, "You should apply for it." I wasn't ready to move on at that time, but it's so funny to think, and there's another universe where we still work together.
Well, there's this thing with the industry that is just like, it is so small in so many ways, because someone that I did work with at Harmonix and worked a ton on Drop Mix, Gigi, ended up doing a bunch of concept art for Knockout City, and like, I don't know,
it's like a big family, very, right?
Very small. Yeah, absolutely.
Big weird family.
True.
Yeah.
Both of you have spoken about the positive memories of yours working in the video game industry, but what about the most challenging ones when it comes to work in the video game industry or working on video games?
I guess I can treat this like my end of year review. I think a thing that I struggle the most with is you gotta work with a lot of people, and those people have their own desires, they have their own experience, they have all that, and sometimes it can be sometimes it's difficult to like take all of that information in, all the different people you're working with, and all the thoughts and feelings that they have. But also, specifically on Midnight Murder Club, this is so Midnight Murder Club is an idea I had 10 years ago, and I've just been working on it every once in a while for like 10 years. And I brought it to Velen, and I said, "Hey, here's this game idea I have. What do you think?" And we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." But while you're working on an idea that like that, you look over and you see like there's 8 plus people working on this thing, and you're like, "I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I don't know. It's just an idea I had. Like, I don't know. Like, you're just looking at someone's like, I hope I'm not wasting your time. I hope I'm not wasting your time." And like Josh and marketing comes in, and I was like, "I don't know. I really hope I'm not wasting your guys' time too," because it's like you don't know how something's going to be. You don't know how people are going to react to something. So that was a interesting and unique struggle to have confidence or fake the confidence sometimes in like, yeah, we're doing the right thing. No one has yelled at me yet. So I think I can keep going. I think I can have some confidence in this thing.
I see. Again, thank you for your honesty.
No worries.
I think there is an element of all of those people, though, that I think is a positive in a way, and I'll get to my challenge in a second, but like video games is, I guess this is kind of my pro and my con, that video games, it can be a really tough industry. Like, there is less job security here than there are in a lot of other places, and it is heartbreaking to know how many of my friends have been laid off. I've been laid off before, and it is really hard, and yet we still choose to do this because we want to, because we love it.
Sure.
It would be a hell of a lot easier for me to say, screw games, I'm going to go market blenders or fridges or soccer balls or like, and just, I would work more steady hours. I would probably make more money. I would, it would be easier, but I don't love it. And I think that so many people, like everybody in this industry, is here because they love it, because they want to be here.
Sure.
And I think that
Sorry.
It helps. Like, you have this common ground. Anybody that you meet in this industry, you know that you're both here because you want the same thing. And there are just, there are jerks in every industry. There are jerks everywhere. But, like,
Sure.
I think that in general, I've met fewer of them here than I have in a lot of other places.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so I think that's something that, it is a double-edged sword, that it is very hard to work in this industry sometimes. But I think that the fact that so many of us still do, I think just shows that we think that it's worth it, despite the challenges, that it is still, a special place.
True.
I would just like to qualify one thing, just to be clear. I didn't mean working with people was the worst part about working in games.
I got it, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't take that. It spun my idea off of that.
Yeah. I meant it is difficult to make sure that you are working with people correctly, that you are helping them, that you are not getting in their way, that you're not making their day worse.
And you are responsible for them, right? So basically,
and when you have that little bit of responsibility, it's like, man, that's scary sometimes.
Especially if you combine with the statement what Josh said, sorry to interrupt you, is that it's an unstable ground, right? It's an unstable industry, so you have to realize it when you work with others.
Yeah.
And so I think that, like, that challenge and that stress that you talked about of like, oh, I hope this is a good idea. I hope that we're doing the right thing. Like, that happens on the other side too, where, again, our marketing team being so small, it's like me and David, we're the ones until we started working with Sony on this. It's like, it was just us that were working on trailers and figuring stuff out. And it's like, I knew that you had this idea for this game 10 years ago. And I'm always thinking like, oh, well, this is going to be our key art for the game. Is this good enough for Eric? Like, this is his baby. I don't want to, like, disappoint him. Is this trailer? I know we had, a lot of thoughts on what makes a good trailer for this game. And, we kind of had to navigate our way to getting there, and had some good ones and some not so good ones. And, like, I don't know. I think there is that self-imposed pressure. Again, if I'm selling soccer balls and I don't do a good job, I don't care. Like, I'm selling soccer balls. Whereas here, it's like, I want to do a good job because I believe in this product. I believe in Eric as this creative visionary. I believe in, so many things, and I want it to succeed. And I guess it does go back to that passion thing that we all want the same thing. We all want this to succeed because we believe in it, not because our boss said, hey,
it's not just a normal job, right?
Yeah. The ones that are, the blue and red soccer balls are half off today, so sell those. Like, no.
Just buy it.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. There's something special about it.
Very true. Very true. And what about, like, the challenges in your life when it comes to video games and working on video games?
I mean, I think I touched on some of them. It's like, it is that pressure of not wanting to, like, disappoint the creators. I see. And all of that. I think that, there is also this additional pressure that comes on the marketing side where it's like, there are some times that there are great games that don't succeed.
True.
And there are times that they're the opposite, that there are
Very
terrible
true.
games. I mean, maybe not terrible, but that games that are like mediocre or just fine end up doing extremely well. And there is a lot of external pressure, obviously, to do well, but I think there's internal pressure too, where it's like, I don't want to be the reason that something doesn't succeed that I do believe in. I don't know. It's a challenge and an ongoing pressure, and I think that
I agree. Yeah.
And I really do think that marketing has it really hard, a lot harder than the dev team does, because one, you're downstream from the dev team, but two, if I make a game that has really fun jumping, and everyone plays it, and they're like, "Oh, I love jumping. Jumping is so good." Everyone is experiencing a good feeling.
But how do you market it, right?
Right, from playing the game. And now marketing has to take that good feeling and try to explain it to people who aren't playing it.
But not spoil it if it's a story-heavy game, right? So it's even harder.
But everybody in the studio has already played it and gone like, "That was really fun."
Yeah.
And now it's marketing's turn to tell strangers that it's fun and they don't get to play it.
True.
So then it's like, that's a lot of pressure because you have a whole studio who's like, "Hey, game's already fun." And now it's marketing's turn. And then if something goes wrong with the game, it's, no offense, it is the easiest thing to do is to blame marketing. Because I played a fun game already. I already played the fun game. So it couldn't have been the game. What could it be? It was Josh. I knew it. I knew it was Josh all along.
You say nobody's yelled at you. Eric yells at me all the time.
Gosh.
Not really. You are so lovely. But I don't know. I do just want to disagree that we have the harder job, because I think that, like, you never say, "I have an idea. I'm going to make jumping fun." And then the next day, jumping is fun. Like, how many iterations do you have to go through to find the right way to make jumping fun?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Very true.
At least two.
Throwing and catching a ball. Hide and seek in the dark. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Switching back to more personal questions again, I believe in the statement of mine that every creator who work on a creation or a project always push their inner self into the project or into the craft he or she makes. Is this statement of mine true for your life as a creator or a person who worked in the video game industry? And if your answer is yes, what examples could you name, could you bring us to the table?
Yeah, you can't remove yourself from anything you do creatively. And even not creatively, like, interacting with a human on any, even if I'm just going to the bank, like, I'm a human consciousness interacting with other consciousness. I'm going to come.
We live in a society.
We live in a society, if you will. But yeah, like, I think as I've gained more experience, I won't say got older, as I gained more experience.
You're still young. You play video games and make video games.
I didn't just have a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Making Knockout City. There were a lot of decisions that I made or that I pushed for that are just so specific to my understanding of the world, my understanding of what I want the world to be.
I see.
And not just the Knockout City world, I mean, like, our human world.
Yeah.
Midnight Murder Club, when choosing, it's simple things, like, even the idea of making a game with a gun where you shoot people, I was like, I've never made a game like that before. And Velen hasn't made a game like that before. So I was a little nervous because, does anybody want to do this? Does anybody want to make a game with murder in it? So much so that I was even nervous to... When I pitched the game, I didn't use the name Midnight Murder Club because I was like, it has the word murder in it. That's going to put people off. Like, I changed the name of it because I was nervous for other people's reactions. But like, it's in my opinion, it's impossible. It's impossible to separate yourself from the creative act, and I do not accept. I won't say I don't. I would struggle to accept anyone saying differently. Let's see what Josh has to say.
I agree with you. Yeah.
I disagree.
Oh,
No, I don't. Even when it comes to marketing materials, it's like if I write a script for a trailer and I throw a little joke that the DJ is going to say in it, it's like that's my
It's
sense of
basically
humor.
you,
Like
yeah.
I'm still trying to write in his voice, but it's still my joke. And we decided to do an ARG for season 3 of Knockout City. Like, I love puzzles. I love, solving puzzles. I love designing puzzles. And so it's like, I want to do this. That is a part of me that existed. And like, it's no surprise that I have worked at like two main game studios, and both of them had ARGs in them because I love ARGs and I love making ARGs and I want to make ARGs until I die.
But is he really dead, or is this another ARG?
That was actually the Harmonix ARG was that I got sucked into the cyber, and the canon is that Harmonix canon is that I'm not Josh. I'm a Josh cyborg robot android thing. Okay. So
I knew that.
I guess robots are getting paid good money these days for doing AI work. I don't know. I mean, I think, like
you predicted the future.
Yeah, exactly. It's. I mean, everything. That's the reason that we hire humans. Like, not to go back to the AI thing, but like that's why we hire humans, because everybody has a point of view and a perspective and a personality. And when I'm hiring someone to do social media, like we hired someone very recently to do socials for Velen, and while I'm sure that many of the candidates that we talk to would be perfectly capable of, being able to communicate an announcement of a game or an update or, a sale on a game, whatever it is, they'll do it in slightly different ways just because they have that perspective. And that's totally outside of the ability to, be creative and, have a stupid joke on TikTok that, goes viral or whatever it is. I think you can't remove yourself from that, because if you do, then it's just formulaic and it's not going to work in the first place.
Yeah, I think that it's important to not be arbitrary about it or hardlined. Also, like, I can't remove myself, so I don't like eggplant, so we're not going to put eggplants in this game. It's like, well, all right, come on, that's very different. That's just you exerting power, as opposed to having reasons for things and then also just allowing the conversation to happen. I don't think we should make. I mean, there was a great interaction that happened on Knockout City where we had a bunch of concepts for a new map and a new season, and some people were like, I think this might be a little. This might feel a little insensitive if we do this exactly as written. And so basically the whole studio talked about it, and we changed the theme of the entire season, and we changed the concepts because people had concerns, and those concerns come from them. They're being a person-ness. There's got to be a better word for it than that.
Sure.
So it's like, you can't be mad at that. And you can't be mad that they spoke up, because, oh my gosh, how awesome is it that they felt comfortable enough to say to the studio, I think something's wrong here. Like, that's awesome. Like, oh my god, if they were silent and then they just stewed the whole time, man, what a failure of leadership that would have been.
True. And like both of you said, I agree with that, is that like those people say that they're not bringing their inner self into something they make, they're probably scared to talk about it, right? Because they have even a bigger connection with that craft that they are making. They are just very scared to talk about because it might be, you know, not to shine light about their life, but a traumatic, you know, memory about their own life. So I feel like that's how people end up, like, quote unquote, lying about it, that they are not in the craft or in their own craft. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Were there any things throughout Midnight Murder Club development phase where you guys had to cut out anything? By the way, let's switch back to the topic of video games and Midnight Murder Club. And if your answer is yes, could you talk about it? Or it's a spoiler topic and you're not allowed to talk about it?
Midnight Murder Club is unique in that respect, where the original idea was very small.
Okay.
The original idea for Midnight Murder Club was, what about a shooter in the dark where if you are playing really, really well, you just see a black screen? It was kind of like a joke. It was like, wouldn't that be funny if you made a game, but when you did turn your flashlight on, the game looked really good. So it's like, wow, I really want my game to look really good, but if I turn my flashlight on, I'm going to die. So it was very, very simple, the gameplay. So what Midnight Murder Club specifically did was, he's like, well, now we have this mechanic. We have this entire mansion, 30-plus room mansion, 6 players. They all have flashlights. The voices echoing through the halls. There's got to be more to it than just deathmatch. So this was like really a, how can we make the game idea bigger? How can we add? But I will say, the things that I really, really wanted to do, but could never get around to, was I wanted to have secret passages.
Okay.
I really, really wanted to pull a book and it opens a bookcase and now you're in the walls.
Doors again.
Yeah, oh my god!
Secret doors! Love it.
If I ever make my own studio, I'll call it Secret Doors.
Yeah.
You pull a candelabra and the fireplace opens. It's like, I really wanted to have that because, one, that's Clue, that's Secret, that's Scooby-Doo, that's very much like that stuff. We really wanted to have the being able to look through paintings.
Yeah.
Because especially the idea of, like, you shine a light and it goes through the eyes and you just see two pieces of light come out of the eyes, like, that would be really fun. It was just, there was so much to do and I could never find the time to do that. And there's an amazing thing that happens as a project goes on and you get to the end, is cutting things is really like letting go, and it like feels so good. Because at some point you're like, the mansion is done, man. Like, you're not going to have a chance to go back into that mansion before we release the game. So just forget about it. There's so much more to pay attention to. And it's, I still think about it, and people will bring it up. I'll be playing, and people are like, oh, man, there should be secret passages. I'm like, I know. I just, if I had more time, if I had more everything. But even then, yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you need to have more ideas than you can do, because then there's always a bucket to pull from. Because as soon as you reach into that bucket, there's nothing there. It's like, yikes. But I think it is. It's a part of creativity to, when the thing is done, you look back in that bucket and you're like, oh right, all of those ideas I wanted to do. Ah man, I never got to them. But it's not like you throw the bucket out. It's like, next game.
True.
You just throw more ideas on top.
And the next door for it, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, this is a 10-year-old idea. Like,
True.
I didn't throw out Midnight Murder Club. I held on to it.
True.
I just needed the right time, which was
just have to have patience in order to use those older ideas, right? And to keep on going with those. Yeah. I see.
Yeah. And you need a good note-taking software so you can write it all down.
Yeah, very true. Switching back to the topic of like personal questions. Next question goes like, how have you changed as a person in other territories of your own life by being a game developer or working in the video game industry? So what effects did it have that you worked on video games or in the video game industry?
You go, Josh.
I think it's helped me be more patient.
Okay.
In like an understanding that everything is more complicated than it seems. It's like, players can be very demanding and impatient sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And I think it's like, you had multiplayer in the last one. Why don't you have multiplayer in Rock Band 4 at launch? Online multiplayer at launch. It's like, well, it's not a Switch. It's not like online multiplayer equals true. It's, there's so much that goes into it. And seeing behind the curtain how difficult it is, I think, in a way, this is something that I do disagree with you about, Eric. Maybe, when you started getting into it, you kind of saw behind the curtain, but you talked about like, oh, it's just 2 frames. How difficult could it be? But, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I've played around in Python a little bit, and it's like, this is what it takes to actually animate 2 frames and move something back and forth on a screen. And it's like, oh my God, there's this much that goes into like just being able to hit a button and make a sprite go from here to here. Everything is so much more complicated. And so I think it's given me patience when it comes to my expectations of like other games, but even just beyond that, it's like everything on this planet is more complicated than it seems. You walk outside and you see a traffic light. It's like, to you, it's just a normal thing that you see every day. It's like, who programs that traffic light? Where did they get the bulbs for it? How do they run the power for it? Like, there's an entire industry that I know.
I wish everyone would be thinking like you mentioned now, because nobody would hate on video games or in each other, right? We would accept that it's just human beings who are making games and we all make mistakes. Finally, thank you.
So I think it just comes down to like patience and understanding that everything is more complicated than I think it is.
I always joke with this that everyone should make games and they will be able to appreciate games more by that, right? Thank you for that. Thank you for your honesty. What about you, Eric?
I agree. I think that it still happens to me. Like, if I told you how long I thought making the mansion was going to take when we started the project, and then how long it took, you'd think I had no idea what I was talking about. And it's like, no, I just thought it was going to be easier. I thought it was going to be easier. But then, oops, uh-oh, forgot about that. Sure. Uh-oh, whoops. It's like all this stuff happens in the way. So there is something, I think, at least to my workflow. I don't know about everybody's, but at least to mine, there is something to overconfidence. That's how I start things. The way I get over that initial hump is, I can just knock this out. I'll knock this out real quick. Well, at least I've started, and then I find all the oops and the whoopsies. But I've already started, so I might as well push through those oops and whoopsies. But an unfortunate thing is, like Josh was saying, is that, and like you've said before also, is like, we as an industry are not really set up to show off the oops and whoopsies that happen in a way that cannot be or will not be taken as negligence or just dumb. We're just dumb. It's like things happen, you cannot plan for them, and then you have to make a decision. And true open development, which I've yet to really, I've seen a couple times, and it's very interesting. It's also a lot. It's a lot to show to somebody. Like there was this one game I was following where they did a blog post every Friday, and it was so long and it was so detailed. But eventually, I'm like, I can't keep up with what you're doing. Like, I can't read this every Friday. But at least it showed me a little bit. Okay, they're really, really thinking about it. Okay, it's harder than I think it is, and I just move on. But there's something to understanding that and finding a way to show it off, to show off that things happen that you can't plan for, and then you have to make that decision. And even at the time, you're probably like, this is the best decision we can possibly make, and we know it's not the best decision that should be made, but it's the one that we can make. And it's not because anybody is like really malicious about it. It's like this is like we have 4.5 hours to make a decision. What do we do? One of my first games was Spider-Man 3 for the Game Boy Advance, and it was like an hour before we had to send the game off to be made, and it wouldn't fit on the cart. We were a couple kilobytes over, and it was me and my producer at like 7:30 at night. Where can we save 4 kilobytes? Like kilobytes, 4 kilobytes. And we were just like, okay, this cutscene, there's 2 images of Kingpin. What if we just used one and we flipped it when we needed him to be angry because the lighting is different on this? You know, it's like, we're like, great, let's do it. And we saved 4 kilobytes and we shipped it off. And it's like, that's what needed to be done. And you could then look at that and be like, oh, look how cheap they are. They could only afford 1 image of Kingpin. It's like, oh man, if you knew, if I was allowed to tell you.
Yeah, now you're allowed to tell it, right?
Now I'm allowed to tell you, yes. I think the statute of limitations on that is up
very
20 years later.
True, very true. The overconfidence that you were telling us, was it something that you always had in yourself and in your life, or was it something that you built over time in your life?
Oh man, I don't know where it came from, but I like to blame it on something that I'm going to say something that's going to sound like I'm flexing, and I'm not. I was in something in middle school called the PEG program, the program for the enriched and gifted. Now, hang on a second. I think I was in this program because one time a woman came to school and took each student out into a room and had us spell words, and she asked me to spell fountain, and I spelled it right on my first try. I think that's the only reason I got put into this thing. Because I didn't do anything in this class. I learned the tiniest bit of French. Bonjour, monsieur, comment ça va? Ça va pas tout?
You still remember it, you're special, right?
Yeah, that's all I can do. Meanwhile, I went to France a couple years ago and I sweated when someone talked to me because I don't know what the... But anyway, so like I'm in this program, and what this program, being in this program said to me was like, oh, I'm gifted. I don't gotta work. So I just did terrible in school. My entire life, I did terrible. One of my best teachers in college, I got a C in his class. And that was a very generous C. Oh my God. He was so kind to me to give me that C. Because I was just like, if I did it, I'd be good at it. So why do it? Like that just somehow that got put in my head. It's the overconfidence of a man, right? So it's like somehow that's in me. That got put in me. And I'm doing a lot of work to try to unpack that and get rid of it. But I'm holding on to a little bit of it. A tiny bit of it, just so that I can like
make the first step, which might be the hardest for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, which is make a PowerPoint and then get in front of your bosses and say, I think this is a good idea.
Yeah, you have to be cocky with your ideas. I always say this because a lot of people end up like having great ideas, but they are just scared to take the very first, step on their journey. So
yeah. I just finished drawing a 250-page comic book. 250 pages. That's a lot. That's a lot of art. And then I penciled it, I inked it, I colored it, I finished it, I sent it to my publisher, and it's like, that took so much work. It took 5 years of my life to do that. How did I start that? Well, I started because I felt like the story was good, and I felt like I was good enough to do it. And then in those 5 years, well, there were some COVID years there too, which don't count, but in those 5 years, I learned, oh my God, I am not good enough to do this, I have to get better. But if I knew that I wasn't good enough to do it at the start, oh my God, I never would have started. Yeah. So yeah, there is something to the confidence, even if it's unearned confidence. There's something to that confidence, but you also have to have the self-awareness, not to be like, oh, I'm the best there ever was. So no matter what I do is going to be great. Like you also need that doubt. I think I've seen it as like people have done it as a graph of making things like, I'm the best in the world. This is the best project I've ever made. This is the worst project in the world. No one's going to like it. Everyone hates it. Hey, it wasn't so bad. It's like, and you need that trough of self-doubt.
True.
In my opinion.
Very true. Thank you for your honesty.
You got confidence, Josh? You got unearned confidence?
I mean, to a degree, I think. Like, the Legend of the Kali that I made when I was 13, it's like the reason I never made that is because I was overconfident about, like, yes, I can make a game that spans 40 hours of content. I mean, I think there's, like, that's making anything. It's like, you know, you get this wealth of ideas of like, what could we do? We have $1 million to spend on this game's marketing. How do we spend it? We could do this. We could do this. We could do this. And it's like, you know, you start realizing, this costs more than we thought. Just like designing the mansion took longer than you thought. And so you like have to start whittling it down. And there are good ideas that get left on the ground. And so I think there is something about like, you know, you have to start with that optimism so that you do think big. Because sometimes, you know, your 19th idea might end up being your best one. And, you know, you just do have to keep thinking. And like, you know, you do have to let go of some good ideas sometimes.
But there is a chance like you
something
always
for knockout.
can go back to those ideas. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
Totally. Sometimes. Like, I think the idea in Knockout City, the marketing idea specifically, that I am the most sad we didn't get to do. Season 7 was our mutant season. And it was the first time that we were kind of creating our own characters. Eric made, you know, this group of 4 mutants that all had names and personalities and costumes that were in the game. It's, you know, Ratfink, who was this little rat boy, and Susan, this like woman turned crocodile, and this big goo boy named Goober and everything. And it was also the first really like sizable crossover we had with the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And, you know, it fit because they were mutants. And we wanted to do something at PAX. And the idea that we wanted to do that we did not get to do was we wanted to have an ice cream truck that had the Ninja Turtles popsicles that have the gumball eyes that are always off, you know, askew and everything. And we wanted to make custom popsicles for our 4 mutants also, and just park the ice cream truck in front of PAX. And you could line up, you know, it's always like warm in Seattle around that time, so you could, you know, I'm sure they would have been popular, and we could have had like Ninja Turtles popsicles alongside the Knockout City mutant popsicles. I wanted to do that so bad, but it's one of those things, like it just didn't work out. We didn't have the money for it.
One for Midnight Murder Club that also, if I can say it, one of the first things I think when we were talking about it, Josh was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to rent a warehouse. We're going to turn the lights off. We're going to give everybody a flashlight and a Nerf gun. And I think we were like, yeah. And then we're like, insurance on that. Someone's going to get hurt. Let's walk back. Let's walk back a little bit on that one.
This is like, I don't know. Again, it's like you think big, and it's like, oh well, if Knockout City had 100 million unique players or whatever, like I wanted to do, at PAX you could come and play dodgeball at a warehouse, and we would turn the lights off when it got late and call it Midnight Madness, because that was in the game, and like. We have the Soundlings who made all the music for us, and they had, they were so creative and they were so good and they were so fun. So like, let's do a live concert of the music in this game. And well, we shouldn't, our game is so pretty. So what if we did this full animation that was synced to what they were playing, like the gorillas and this, like, this, it's like, you think, if we did everything that we thought would be cool to do, every game would have to have a $50 million marketing budget. Not even,
Yeah, and that also shows that you're passionate about your work and the projects that you worked on.
Right.
So, yeah. Also, to add to your thought when you mentioned like the traffic light and how they work and people might not realize it, I talked with Eric about it before we started our interview, is that like I always name this example of mine from my studies in high school that we learned reviewing poems by like, not saying that this poem sucks. We never said that, but we actually like learned about the poem itself and the creator itself, right? And I think that this mentality should ship over to the adult form of human beings and how they, judge others or judge any craft what other human beings make, because that was the time when we like loved analyzing everything that we read, even if it was a book or a novel or a poem. And I feel like that's what's missing in nowadays society and a lot of human lives, is that like we just use very simple words to judge others, but we do not realize how much work it goes into just one person when they grow up, right? And it's just a person growing up, and they will work on something, or they will have a 9 to 5 job and work there. So it's like it's always easier to judge, and it shows that like people forget it, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something to that too, where like it is so interesting to hear someone go into depth on a topic that you disagree with, or that you just don't care about. Like, I don't know. I don't care about Warhammer 40K. But if someone is like really into that and has like a whole collection of minis that they've painted, and they've invested all this time into building this, like, I want to know about that. I want to ask you so many questions. I want you to tell me about it. Like, how did you get into this? Why do you like it? It just doesn't scratch. And it's not because I'm trying to disagree, because I don't care. And 95% of the time I'm going to walk away, and I'm not going to be interested in like starting that myself. I'm not looking to have this conversation because I want to like pick up a new hobby. It's more just like hearing people talk about things that they're passionate about is so interesting.
Sure.
It's so fun.
And you also can get inspired by that conversation, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's like we were saying before the interview. Not liking something is safer than liking something.
True.
Because as soon as you say, I like that, you're vulnerable. You have just shown off a preference. And that's being vulnerable. Like, when you're a teen getting into music, oh boy, do not tell anybody what kind of music you like unless it is the popular music. Because when I was in middle school, I had one cassette tape. A cassette tape, how do I describe that? A cassette tape is kind of like a CD, except it's flat. But anyway, I had one cassette tape, and it was a band called 10,000 Maniacs. Sounds pretty hardcore, right? No. 10,000 Maniacs is a very soft band where one of the songs was a song about what it's like growing up pregnant in the Dust Bowl days. And it's like, I'm 12 years old, and I'm in the back of my mom's car just being like, it was so hard for them. Like, what? Like, would I ever have told any of my friends or anybody in school that I listened to this band? No, I never would have, because then I'm it's vulnerable. Now I could care less. Like, yeah, I love Nellie Merchant. She's great. But
how did you find them? Like, was it one of your friends that like was passionate about it and told you about them, or it's like Spotify didn't exist?
Spotify didn't exist. VH1. I think VH1 played.
Really? Okay.
I don't even know what song of hers, and I was like,
it wasn't the Dust Bowl one?
It wasn't the Dust Bowl one. No, that didn't do very well on the open air. But but yeah. So like I'm sure you maybe have experiences. You may have done this yourself. A new movie comes out or a new TV show is out, and instead of saying like, "Oh, I loved it," you say, "What'd you think?" Like, you have to ask the other person first before you expose. So if they go, "I loved it," like, "Me too." But if they go, "Oh, I hated it," you'd be like, "Oh, really?" You're not gonna go, "Oh, I loved it," and "Oh my god," and now let's have a fight. Let's argue about why, because I'm not going to convince you. If you didn't like it, I'm not going to convince you it was good.
True.
And if you didn't like it, you're not going to convince me it's bad. So what's the point of this conversation?
True.
So, like, the first thing that you're probably going to do is you're going to try to see what the other person thinks before you expose your. Hang on a second. Before you expose what you like. So that's why I think again, it's a broad brush to say, and I don't want to say that people can't not like things. Like, go ahead. There's lots of things I don't like. But don't forget to talk about the things you like.
Exactly.
And
cherish the things you like, right?
Yeah, it's so much more.
It gives you a deeper connection, in my opinion. Sorry to interrupt you, with other human beings.
And with yourself. It's like, instead of defining myself on what I don't like, what do I like? What do I want to see more of? And really, that's the part of being creative, is like,
Sure.
I'm not seeing enough of the thing that I like, so I guess I'm going to make it. Sure. I guess I'll be the one. And creating is also extremely vulnerable, because this is what you want, this is what you thought should exist in the world. It's like, yeah, this is what I thought should exist in the world. Like,
True.
what do you think? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I can't say sorry.
True, very true. I also have an example from my life to this topic, what you mentioned before the interview and now again too, is that like whenever anyone asks me what my favorite game is of all time, I always say Final Fantasy X. And when the next question goes why, I always tell them this example of me being 12 and playing Final Fantasy X and almost being at the end. But like my grandfather, who was my main father figure in my life, passed away and I never finished that game. And every year I go up till the end of Final Fantasy X, but I never finished it in my whole life. I know the endings, I know all the endings, but I never finished it because like it keeps me of this memory with him, you know, when he like I showed him the games that I played and I grew up with him, and it's very important for me. But like you said, it's a vulnerable memory because there might be people who say that, hey, your memory sucks or you're just an awkward person who sticks to his past. And yes, I do this because it's important for me. He's everyone. He's everything for me, right? Sorry, everything for me. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I totally agree.
Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite Final Fantasy, and it's like you go on the internet, the Magica Junction system sucks. It's like I don't know what that is, man. All I know is that I had a lot of fun playing it with my
exactly, and that's what matters at the end of the day, right? Because it's our memories and. You don't have to compete on quote unquote with others with these memories.
I also never beat Final Fantasy VIII because I got to the end and it was too difficult for me. That was a different reason, but it's still, I think I've yet to beat a Final Fantasy game.
Okay. Switching back to the topic of video games itself, I'm a huge fan of physical editions when it comes to video games, even a simple physical edition or a collector's edition. Will there be ever any form of physical edition or merch out of your games?
Well, first off,
okay, you go.
This Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I bought this specifically because when I was a kid, I played it, and it had a physical edition, and it comes with your dad's journal that's all filled out. So yeah, I love physical editions. I love things like that. But you know, I have all these board games here. But I just wanted to point that out. That if I ever did anything with a physical edition, I would want to put as much little things in it as possible because that's what makes me excited. Yeah. And now Josh is going to say why it's very difficult to do a physical edition. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the traffic light. Digital is hard and physical is hard, but they're hard for different reasons, and the difficulty gets put on different people. For digital, it's hard because Sony and Steam and everybody need to figure out this pipeline so that they can, you know, have their network distributed around the world so that you can download a game in a matter of minutes and, you know, figure out all their platforms and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not my problem. That's not Eric's problem. That's not Velen's problem. All we do is we upload a game and then you can download it 45 seconds later. Physical has all of these other issues where it's like, you know, it's not even just about producing it. It's also that, like, the timelines that are required in producing. You know, when you had to cut that second Kingpin photo out, how long until that game was actually on shelves?
Oh yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, and
I moved on. I'd already
shortened. Yeah, they've shortened them now, and I know day one patches are now a thing that they weren't, you know, before. You know, in the Game Boy Advance days, you couldn't do a day one patch. But I think I would love to do something like that, but I think it would need to be something that, you know, it's probably not a physical edition at launch. It's probably
like a later stage.
This game, this game has grown a following, and now it is like a safer investment, so to speak, because it's like, if we're going to do that, there is a cost up front, and we just need to make sure that we're not going to be, you know, making a mistake, so to speak. And I think there are some things that I do love the physical versions of. When we decided to sunset Knockout City, we had done some Knockout City merch. We did like t-shirts.
Yeah, I remember that,
and stuff. But when we made the decision to sunset, that's when we did the things that I had wanted to do for years. But it was like, well, it's now or never. And so we made the biggest art book I've ever seen for anything, because it's like it was just too hard to cut more than we did. It was hundreds and hundreds of pages, and it's gigantic. It's like this thick. And then we did a vinyl soundtrack because music was so important to the game. And again, putting myself in it, I wanted that soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hoodwinked our bosses into giving me the budget to do it because I wanted that. If you're watching,
really quick,
that's not the only reason.
Again, speaking of physical releases specifically for the vinyl record, I don't know if you remember, but we had to get that pressing as soon as possible because Taylor Swift was about to release a record. Or Beyonce, one of them. And when they release a record, all of the factories that make records, that's all they do. So you cannot get a record made when they are making a record. So it's like, if you want to do something physical places have to make that physical thing. And if those physical places are all booked up, you can't make it, or you have to wait and it's delayed. So it gets really difficult to make a physical thing. And then it's got to be stored somewhere, and then it's got to be shipped, and oh my god, all the stuff. It's...
Yeah.
I
didn't even know that. That's crazy to hear about.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think the one instance that this actually affected what ended up happening, we had Deep Space Dispatches, which were like the in-game lore, or out-of-game lore in this case. And it was like we were doing a final season, and we wanted to have the Soundlings create this like orchestral score that, went along with the big climactic moment of the final season. And so Eric was still writing the script for that final episode. And we didn't know exactly, we knew the story beat. We knew that, the moon would end up, blocking this meteor, and, the DJ would be a hero. And we didn't know exactly what the script was. We definitely hadn't recorded it. So, we basically briefed the Soundlings on, hey, this is kind of what we want. This is the emotion that we want. Make us something we can probably use. And so they gave us something, and we put it on the vinyl because we wanted it to be this all-encompassing, hey, you get, this is the only place you can get this. This isn't going on Spotify. And then when we actually got into the edit, it's like, oh, we need something a little bit different. And I'm trying to remember. I think they gave us a different version. They're like, oh, here, let's make something else that works.
A little tweak.
And so the version that is on the vinyl is not the version that's actually in the show. And it's just because we had to send it off to get mastered and pressed and printed and everything so much earlier that the timeline just didn't work out.
I see. Thank you for the honesty again from both of you about this topic too. I appreciate that. We talked here about a lot of topics, and before I will go into the closing questions, is there anything that you would like to bring up as a topic to talk about that we might missed or I missed asking from you guys?
I have something.
Go ahead, Josh.
I am in a lot of video game communities. I have, led a bunch of video game communities over the years, and I think there is something that is very special about the community that we have built at Velen, where people connected so strongly with Knockout City that they are just so nice to us on other things. I think Midnight Murder Club is such a different game that Knockout City was. And there are so many people that are like, oh, it's the Knockout City people? Yeah, I'll give it a try. Also make Knockout City 2, but I'll give it a try in the meantime.
Wink, wink,
it's
wink,
a common thing, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's, in an industry where someone making, a game that is different than what the audience was expecting, when it just turns into pure negativity and stuff, and that largely doesn't happen. Our Discord is so easy to moderate because it moderates itself. Our community is just so positive and wholesome, and I'm just very thankful for that. And I think that that kind of thing gives me a lot of optimism and hope for the industry in general. When when the industry as a whole, when the world as a whole, outside of games, can just feel so like negative sometimes, there are still these really good communities, and I'm just very thankful to feel like a community member in this community.
True. I totally agree and connect with you on that level. Is that it's like a checklist that you can, make for yourself, and you can appreciate it, and you might hope for a whole world to be like that in some day in the future. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think that I know people know this, but I like to say it every once in a while. I'm just a guy. Like, I'm not special in the sense that like I have a special artifact that helps me make games or anything like that. Like that you can't have also. It's like the main thing that I have is when I was growing up, I had access to a computer. I had the internet, and I had a desire. So I found out how to do the things that I wanted to do. And I did them in a way that I could do them. Sure, I overscoped, and I've only, self-published a couple games because I have so many more on my hard drive that I'll never finish. But you can do this too. And if you want to. And it's so much easier now than it has ever been. You don't have to worry about so many things that you have to worry about when I was growing up. When it comes to making video games, you don't have to worry, does the person have a 3D card? Like, that was a big thing. Like, does the person have a sound card? Like, these are all words that don't mean anything anymore, because yes, of course, everybody can do these things. And again, it's like, start small, start big. Like, sometimes people say, if you want to do something, find the smallest idea you can and do it. And sometimes that works. But sometimes starting really big also helps you because you learn your limits.
Sure.
It's disheartening and it's hard. It's not easy. It is very hard to maintain the enthusiasm for something. But again, that's the thing you need to learn how to do if you want to do it. And if I can just point out a thing that I went to reach for, this game, Horsemaster, the game of horse mastery. A friend of mine made this. He made it in Twine, which is a text adventure style engine. And it's just free to play online, and he made this little box that I bought at a convention once. And inside of it is the game on a USB drive that's a horse.
Oh, okay.
And you pull them apart, and there's the game in there. And he made all of this, and why did he make this? He made this because it was fun. And he always wanted to have a box and a game, and it's got buttons in it too. I'd forgot about the buttons. And he just wanted to do this stuff, so he did it. And he didn't have a publisher. You can't find this in a store or anything like that. He just wanted to do it. He made it look like an old Nintendo game. He did all of this on his own for fun. And I think he had a fun time making it. I just saw him last weekend, and he still thinks of it highly. And I don't know, it's just amazing to see that. Like, I got an idea. I'm gonna go try it. X months later, the idea is done, and here it is. Yeah. And it's ready for me to show strangers. But who am I? Who am I to put my desires in front of a stranger? Like, this thing, I was like, well, who's anybody? Like, that's exactly the whole point of it. Is like, who is anybody? So just do it if you want to do it. Learn, and hopefully get better for the next time you want to do it, or the next time you go to apply yourself to something else. You're like, I don't want to make a game anymore, but now I want to make this other thing, and I can use some of that stuff that I learned, and now I understand where people are coming from when they talk about creation or working with a team or stuff like that. And I don't know. I just highly encourage people to just try. Because if you fail, who cares? Oh my god, who cares? Like, if you fail, oh my god, if I showed you all the games I failed on my computer, you'd be like, wow, that's a lot of games. It's like, yeah, and it literally doesn't matter that I failed.
True.
all that matters is that I learn from it.
Very true.
So
There is a good example,
that's my
by the way.
suggestion.
Sorry to interrupt you. Thank you for your honesty about this topic. And
Yeah.
there is a good developer friend of mine who told me about this game called Goblins. It's a point-and-click series. You guys probably
I
know
love
it.
Goblins.
And the fifth in the series wasn't even like advertised or marketed. The guy who made it, the person who made it, he just made it because he loved the series and he loved making these games. And for the fifth series, he didn't want it to sell for the big public. He just released it and he never advertised it. He never even made like small devlogs, as to my best knowledge. And it shows with your example in common is that like some people just do it because they love it and they don't want to go out to public. And it shows that what you also said is true, is that like I feel like as a society from a very young age we somehow teach kids that it's bad if you fail, right? Rather than like, teach them to, yes, you failed, you have to learn from that failure and go forward. And then that's what I think a lot of people are scared of, to really take risks and really fall sometimes, because it will help you learn.
It does hurt. It hurts.
Exactly.
Falling down does hurt. And sometimes it takes a while to stand back up again.
But most people at the comfortable zone, they are not happy. And I can tell you that. I talk to a lot of people about different topics, not just video games. And I always like analyze people when I talk with them. That's my mastermind, that's my skill, as we call it. And like, I always see that those people who are really in their comfortable zone, they are just not happy, because like they have so many ideas they would like to cherish and give, not just to themselves but might to the public as well, and they just end up being 30, 40, 60, and lives go by and they haven't done anything. And that's why I say that like society, we get I always say this, that we get a boxed word in which like we have these common goals of like having kids, having a wife or a husband, having a car, having a house. And that's all. That's for most of the people in our life. That's all. They forget about like, about the sky, about spaceships, aliens or anything. Like it sounds crazy, but we should cherish all those ideas and like thoughts in our head, right? Because like that's what makes us human, of thinking, constantly thinking of these ideas and to grow, in my opinion, at least.
Humanity, specifically consciousness, as far as we know, is the most rarest thing in the entire universe. We are the most rarest thing that we have ever experienced. So we have that spark of consciousness. So, it's a lot of pressure, but
true.
Do something with it.
True. That like, first step that you mentioned with overconfidence that you can overcome. And some people don't. Yeah. My last question would be, by the way, what about the future for you guys, and also for Wellen Studio, if you can talk about that? What ideas or what kind of games we can, as players, wait in the future from you guys, if it's not a spoiler to ask, of course. But if it is, then you don't have to answer it.
The future. I am going to be boring and say I don't know, because 10 years ago I made the first prototype for Midnight Murder Club, and then when I finished it I started working on another prototype, and after we launched Midnight Murder Club, I was like, maybe I should pull that other prototype out and show it to people. Maybe my future is actually my past, and I'm just going to keep mining past Eric's ideas until he runs out. But I don't know. I'm not interested in thinking too hard about that, because I want to be surprised.
I see. Like, I suppose surprise yourself as well, we could say so.
Yeah, to surprise myself. Yeah, like I had absolutely no idea when I joined Velen. There is not a I had not a thought that I would ever pitch Midnight Murder Club.
I see.
When I joined Velen, I had absolutely no idea I'd be writing radio dramas. 10-episode, hour-long radio dramas. Like, I had no idea I'd ever be doing that. And that is the thing that is very exciting about the job that I'm in right now. So what I want out of the future is I want to continue to be able to do this, to do it with trust from myself, in myself, and from other people, and from the people who play the games. Like, we are trying things, and it's difficult to try things because you don't know if it's going to work, and sometimes it can feel a little weird and a little scary. But that's it. That's the point of the try. Is like,
Sure.
what if we did this thing and we did it differently than everybody else? Which means we kind of have to rewrite some rules. Like, how do you market something like that? How do you make something like that? And that's all scary and it's all interesting. So that's just what I hope to get to do in the future.
I see. What
Joshua?
What about you?
I have a slightly better idea that I
Hooray.
can be a little cagey on because we can't talk about it yet. We have another game that is in the works that is pretty exciting.
Okay.
So I'm.
You're dodging like with the balls right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Who knows? Maybe Knockout City 2, maybe not.
No, I can tell you it's not Knockout City 2. That's the thing. Like,
yeah,
we are. Anytime that we talk about anything, our Discord does get rabid, and they're like, "It's Knockout City 2?" And so that's the one thing that I will say is like, it's not Knockout City 2 because I don't want people to get their hopes up. Like, we may return to Knockout City someday. We would like to do that. I think that is the closest that we have come to like pre-announcing what we're working on in the future. That, like, I know Eric loved Knockout City. I know so many people at the studio love Knockout City. Like, our CEO will like see someone post something in Discord loving talking about how much they love Knockout City 2 years ago or whatever, and he'll message someone and he'll be like, can we make a sequel work? Like, let's start talking about a sequel. And so, like, there are always conversations happening. They're just not at a place that we're actually working on it yet. Maybe sometime in the future. No, this is something different. It is from the director of Knockout City is working on it, and it's I'm excited about it. I think that he has some really fun ideas. It's been in development for 18 months now, Eric, or something.
It's a lot of time. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is. We're getting close to the point that we're almost ready to start talking about it.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's exciting.
So maybe it's this year that you will announce something, or it's next year, or you cannot talk about it.
We'll see. It's not too far off. It depends.
Okay.
Are you talking on the scale of the lifespan of a human or a lifespan of like a mayfly or something? There,
Okay.
Or
a dodgeball.
Or a dodgeball. Yeah.
Josh, I have a suggestion. If we
What's up?
ever do it, let's instead release Knockout City 3. So then people can continue to ask us if we're making Knockout City 3.
Oh, okay, I get it. Like at what was that game called?
Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator. Yeah. Goat
Sim.
Simulator. Yeah. I love that idea. Yeah. It would stick with your mentality of going back to the past and mining for ideas.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe Knockout City 2. Yeah.
We've moved on to Knockout City 8. We're like, maybe 2 is in the future.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you for your honesty on all of the topics, and I appreciate your time, like I said. And like I said, I will need some more of your minutes of stream, but for those who are watching us here live or will be watching back the VOD on Twitch and YouTube, thanks for joining us into this episode of my Dev Live show. Don't forget to be on the lookout for the future games of Balance Studios, and also check out Midnight Mirror Club as well. And thank you everyone who joined us for today's episode. Have a great day or night, depending where you live. Bye everyone. Bye.
Thank you.